everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to check out behind the track touch, specifically the drop. Going to go through all the sounds that I used and sort of the structure of how I did it. Let's hop in. Here we go. So let's get a refresher here. So the most important part of this track here is hands down the drums. The drums carry this entire thing, and let's go ahead and solo it out so you can hear exactly what it's doing here. Very, very like light percussion. I wanted it to really feel like, you know, you were seeing like a performer on the street, you know, soloists on the on the sticks or whatever, and it really kind of shows through here. Like, it's something that you can just listen to on its own. So there's a couple things that are making this up here. If we go ahead and bring this in here, zoom it in, we've got our basic sort of, you know, our kick here, snare, one hat, fast hat, then our little percussion snares, right? So one of these hats is kind of going quick, this one right here, you know? This is the sort of driving factor of the whole thing. Now, what we call the pace percussion, which is keeping you on beat, is going to be another hi-hat here, which is going bump, bump, just like that. And it's this one right here. Listen for it. Here we go. And that's what, and those two hats really make up the entire thing. Without that in there, it's really, like, it's still tight, but it gets kind of bland. So if we take out these hats, like even the additive percussional, you know, drums here that go here, they don't really work as well either when we take out these hats. These hats are really instrumental in this sort of drum and bass beat, because you can ride on that. So before you're doing anything, you know, in any sort of drop, the beat is always important, you know. It's always important to have that really down pat, and I'm really happy with the way this turned out. And that's really the drums. You know, with the kick drum, I always like to tell you guys how I kind of process the kick drum to get it to, you know, hit or not hit or whatever. And it sounds like this, just a sample, right? It's really, really tight. If we go in here, I cut it down and made sure that, you know, I was able to not get all the super like sustain of the kick. I really just wanted to punch and attack of it. And moving over here, just up 1 dB with the utility as far as volume. And then I've got it low cutted here at 41 hertz. So it's not playing anything under 41 hertz. And I gave it quite a little bit of a bump right here at 43 hertz, just to really kind of give it that sort of just oomph to it, you know, because it's not really low end punchy. It's really like, you know, upper mid-rangey punchy. You know, 53, 40 hertz is, you know, they're not, especially in a kick drum, you're not getting anything unless it's a really sustainy sort of thing, you know, as far as in the low end. Moving down the chain here, we've got a glue compressor, which is just, you know, a threshold at 0 dB with a makeup gain of 3 dB. So every time it hits over 0 dB, and the threshold is giving it, which it's really not even doing. So I really just gave it a makeup gain of 3 dB. And yeah, so I don't know. I like using the glue compressor to beef up kicks. It's really simple, straightforward, and it works all the time with soft clipping on. And you can play around with all these different things, but I usually never do. So yeah, that's the drums. Moving into the low end section here. How did I do? Oh, here it is. So I always love using the hip hop sub bass. I mean, I'm using it 1, 2, 3, 4 instances of the hip hop sub bass. It's just an Ableton Live instrument that comes with the program, and I'm telling you, it's so clean, so clean, so pure, and there's really nothing wrong with it at all. And then I just kind of high pass it so it's not playing anything above, because you do get a little bit of those frequencies in that sine wave, especially when you're distorting it a little bit and kind of beefing it up in volume. A lot of these things can kind of shine through. Moving in, we've got, you know, the vocals. I mean, I just recorded them right here, and
I just need your touch. Whew, whew.
This part is the coolest part because look at the way that this kind of flows. And I like using vocals to really add flow into the tracks, you know, because look at that. Touch. Hit it again. I just want you. Touch. And then I like to use spaced out on the vocals. And, you know, I've got 3 instances. There's like 3 takes that I do at the same time. And I create a whole, which would be 1 layer, you know. That's how I like to do it. Then I've got it all in groups and whatnot and thermal and stuff like that. Taking out some additive and subtractive EQ, in this case subtractive EQ, taking out unwanted sibilances and harsh frequencies within the vocal. And yeah, I mean, and I use spaced out on there, and then I'm running everything in the box right here. So as far as all the processing to get the vocal to sound the way it does. And moving into the sound design section. Woo! So that's the section that we're going to focus on here. First sound is the screeches in my screech section here. These are really the pop screeches. Listen to it now. That's just 3 layers of screeches, 1 pan 35 to the right, 1 pan 35 to the left, and 1 playing down the middle. And it creates this whole thing. Nice. I really love the Synth 1 reverb in there. It's really nice, and that's what I used. Then on the actual group itself, because screeches can get really bad with their high-end hiss, and you really don't want it to be that way. So I just kind of take out some high frequencies here with like a really low, you know, high-end dip here. That kind of brings all the highs down about 2 to 3 dB all the time. And then I just, even though there's really no low end in the screeches, I take it out anyway. So I low-cutted it here at 129 hertz, and that's the screeches, you know. And then I found this nice little sample here, which sounds like this. And I just used that. Really cool. Just starts in the beginning like a nice little attack punch. And it really layers in with this right here, which is my silky bass. And, you know, that's just a, you know, I mean, what I have on here on all my Serum sound design stuff in particular, I like to put an EQ and an overdrive on there and EQ it like this to start. And then I'll kind of change it depending on the track's needs. So it gets a nice little high shelf, and then it's low-cutted here at 116 hertz with a little bit of overdrive on there at 20%. Full range on the filter, and yeah, it gives you like a nice starting point when you're sound designing things. So you're already got a little bit of grit and a little bit of volume going on here, but you're also, you know, low cutted because I like to do all my low end separately from everything. So that's that. When you open it up, it's just analog BD sign, you know, an oscillator A and B with a little bit of FM from B coming back into itself with a low 18. So that this really just creates that envelope that gives it that warmth. Without that, you see, it just kind of really doesn't have any attack and punch. With this, it really kind of attacks at you and has that sort of bubble effect, which, you know, it's really, really silky. And then you can kind of play with that attack and punch here in the LFO when it comes in, and, you know, the sort of swing of it, you know. And then in the effects section, we've got a little bit of distortion, which really made a difference, you know, because I put the tube on there and you can see the drive is all the way up and the mix is all the way up as well. Really needed that sound to really punch through the mix. Filter section with another MG low 18. Because with all that distortion comes, you know, you're getting a lot of harmonics, so I needed to filter that out once again, which what I couldn't do when I was in here in the sort of chain of events in the way that I programmed in the sound, you know. So we put it in a filter here in the back end towards the end to really take out that distortion. So moving to the next sound here. It's the tear jerker. Same setup. The same setup is going to be in here for most of these as far as the EQ and the overdrive, so we're not going to keep going back to that. Let's open up the tear jerker here. It's got a little bit of reverb going on. Not it. It's going on out here, and it's got pre-delay on, which is why you can't hear the reverb while the sound is playing. It hits once it's over, thanks to that pre-delay that is happening here. It's ballad reverb here. It's got this pre-delay that's going on in the dry wet here, so you can't really hear the reverb while the sound is playing. But as soon as it's over, you hear that sort of delay, and that delayed reverb kind of bounce in. It's really, really nice. Moving back into the sound itself. It's just a saw rounded with a beefy Reese high pass or high peak 12. It just kind of adds a little bit more kind of like attack and punch to it. This sound is going to be made available to you guys in the sound shop for free. This is the tearjerker, and it's got a layer to it that sounds like this. And together they play like this, which really gives it that warehousey thing that I really wanted. And you can't really, like, now that you are, you know, being able to hear these sounds individually, you can really kind of pick them out of the mix and be like, oh snap, I didn't even know that there was like all these layers to this. You got that, and then you got that, and the actual screech itself. So my out screech, which is actually, I think this screech is available, named probably the Repent screech, in the Lit Lord's Trunk Shaker sound kit. So it's there. That's the screech. So when you play all those three things together, you get the basically the tearjerker sound. But yeah, I mean that's basically sort of some insight behind the track on Touch, and you know, and at the end of the day, we came up with this final product here. Touch.